Hello everyone! Today I'm going to be showing you how I made those basses. Let's listen to them without drums. Okay, so let's turn off all the plugins inside the bus and take a look at each bass separately. Let's take off all the effects. Let's turn off sub, noise, and filter. So, wavetables. The first one is pretty much a basic sub oscillator, which consists of first and third harmonics, right? To add a body to the sound. The second is a pretty much inbuilt serum wavetable, and I'm using FM synthesis, yes, FM from B. So this oscillator is turned off. See, its volume is 0, right? And I'm using this wavetable as a source to modulate the first, right? Going through the unison, most people don't like to add unison at the oscillator stage, but I tend to do so because it adds a little bit of fullness, you know, kind of body, additional body. But what I do is I'm going to global. If you can, you may turn down width to around 40, right? And turn down the range to 1. So in that case, you will not be receiving any facial artifacts, right? It will be much more controlled, but I like doing it this way. Okay, so listen how this sounds just by oscillators. And I also use LFO to modulate the FM. So let's listen. Sounds kind of a meh, but let's take a look what filter does. It's a, again, inbuilt filter, flanger minus. Creates kind of movement. Let's add noise. It's just basic noise, which goes here when you open serum, right? Its level, you mean gain, is modulated by the same LFO as the FM. Trash for now, I understand. But let's go through the processing inbuilt in serum. Firstly, I add phaser to kind of boost stereo. Additional movement is always nice. Then I add hyperdimension to boost stereo even more. I like going for a lot of stereo. If I don't need one, I can cut it later and fix the sound. Okay, the settings are as follows, and in terms of stereo, I tend to bring randomizer down on my main oscillator, so I get the same sound every time I play it, right? So further, here's where things get nasty. I add a distortion with isometric and just listen what it does to the sound. It's some dirt, right? Then I don't need that much dirt, so I clean it up by using low filter with the same automation as I used to browse through FM position and the noise filter. Okay, let's turn it on and listen how it sounds. Sound became, more like tight together, okay? And then I boost low frequencies to add more distortion, even more distortion to that. Sort of like boomy sound. And then I use compressor in multiband mode, so I can bring highs up and kind of compress low frequencies so they're not that aggressive. Let's listen. You might say that sound became worse, and it's kind of true, but we will see later how do I get it nasty. So we now hear that our sub is not very existing. So I add a direct out sine wave -2 octaves, okay. And I actually see quite often that people add LFO to the sub level. Sometimes it works, but I personally don't like doing that because when subs start moving fast enough, it creates sort of mess in lower frequencies, even though it can be controlled. But if your LFO rate is high, this is going to be a bad decision. Okay, so we've pretty much went through the first bass. Okay, nice. Let's go to the second one. Okay, where it is. Here. Sounds like a mess, but we will make it better. So let's turn everything off. Sub off, noise off, filter off. Okay, again, the same thing. I'm taking bass sine wave, analog BD sine. You can find it here. It's inbuilt serum wavetable, and this is inbuilt wavetable too. So I use LFO1 to modulate FM from A to B. I use LFO3 to browse through filter position, but we'll talk a bit about this later. And the same LFO, again, as going through FM, is going to noise. Let's list the same thing. I add a unison here, and you see what I've been talking about earlier. I turned range down to 1, reduced the width of the sound to make it more tight into the center. Okay, let's listen without everything, just pure sound going from 2 oscillators. Okay, adding a filter, it's a little bit downward moving through LFO1, but that's not really noticeable. And the third LFO goes up, so we get nice, like changing sounds. Let's listen again without the filter. And with the filter. Some dirty, okay. And actually add noise. To get more like high frequencies. The same idea here as I did with the bass one. I add stereo by hyperdimension. Then I add even more stereo with the filter. Comes filter, not much of a deal. I'm just pretty much randomly scrolling through the filter types and looking for sweet spots. Let's listen how it sounds. Not much big of a difference, but I kind of liked how that sounded. Distortion, the same again. Isometric distortion, kind of the same proportions as before. you can hear now this resonances, and then the same thing, just add in a compressor and a sub. Okay, let's go to the third bass. It is right here. Third bass is pretty much the same as bass 1. You can see that it's almost the same. The only difference I did is I moved filter, I guess. Or no. I guess I added some filters to that. Yes. Instead of adding a low filter, I added reverb filter and automated that. Let's listen to that. Okay, the first one. You see that there is not much big of a difference between them, but I kind of like changing basses a little throughout the track. And let's listen to the last bass, bass 4, which is my favorite here. How did I make that? Okay, let's walk through. But that's pretty much the same as bass 2, but here I believe I changed filter positions. Here's automated to the top. Okay, now this one is not automated to the top. It's in a different sweet spot, and I use almost the same kind of processing there. And to add this sort of movement to the bass, I did this. I set legato, mono, and portamento to like 117 to just create this effect. Let's listen without. Not bad, but not so interesting. But when I add this, okay, that sounds great, okay? And then let's go to the most interesting part. How did I make this mess into a nice basis? Okay. First one, Pro Q, cut in some middle frequencies. Let's listen to the difference. Oh wait, forgot to turn it on. Okay. Then Camel Fat. Just a clear preset with distortion on. Tube, Mac, and Zeta, I believe. Positions I've been choosing depending on listening experience. So there is no complete recipe how to make this plugin work. You're just gonna have to tweak it blindly until you notice that sound became better and you're suited with it. Okay, so let's listen without and with. You can already hear the difference between old version and new one. Okay, then an OTT compressor with the basic opening window, just lowering down depth from 100% to 23. Let's listen to the difference. Just bringing up all the dirt that we have in a sound. You can notice then we ran to the red zone on the bus. That's not big of a difference. Then we add a disperser, which is a Xfer plugin built in Faceplant, but which can be used as a standalone VST. Let's listen to the difference. Sounds like water added to the sound, like this teardrop on a highs, which is nice. And you see that we're dropping to the red zone here, so I use Soft Clipper to prevent that. This plugin is amazing. It's basic stock Fruity Loops plugin, which creates wonders to the sound. Let's listen without and with. Sound became like straightforward. And then, as I told you, I'd like to use many voices in oscillators, so I kind of have to cut some stereo from the sound to make it more focused on lows in a center. Okay, so this is just a low cut filter with side on Pro Q3, which is great equalizer, I believe. Then let's listen to the difference. If you're not listening on a headphones, you're probably not going to notice any difference, but there is a difference. Then I decided that I need a little more dirt in the sound. So I added the distortion plugin, which comes with Faceplant 2 as a disperser, right? Just the saturate mode, lower and drive a little bit, and looking for a sweet spot in the mix button. Let's listen without and with. Sound became so much fatter, and as you can see, again we're going up to the red zone, so we need another soft clipper to solve this issue down. Okay guys, a lot of you might say that you're doing crazy stuff with over-saturating, over-distorting the sound, and you're going to have a complete mess instead of sub-bass in your, like in your track. But let me prove you that you're wrong. So this equalizer on master bus cuts all the high frequencies. Okay, let's listen to the sub without anything. You can hear that this sub is pretty clear, so there is no issue in doing that. The main thing that you should focus on in terms of getting clear sub bass is to pay attention to your synths, okay? I've been looking to this analyzer window ever since I opened Serum and started doing those basses, okay? If you're getting a mess, lower frequencies, if you can hardly see the picks of your harmonics, especially lower harmonics, If you can't see them, if they're just a flat line, then you're not going to have a clear sub-bass, okay? So pay attention to your synthesis, and then you can overload your sound with lots of distortion and not breaking down your sound. So that's what we're getting. Okay, guys, so don't be afraid to be creative, because a lot of times I've seen people doing one great bass and just stuck in on them. Experiment, you know, even one bass section can give you different sounds. Like this, bass 2, bass 4, pretty much the same preset. I've just tweaked reverb filter a little. And that's the difference. That's all the difference. The position of reverb filter and the LFO, right? That's all. And we get a completely different sound with not changing anything else. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in my next videos. Thank you. Peace.